Hi, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. We have a bigger crew than last week. Summer's always a little hard because everybody's finding ways to have some fun, especially, oh my God, has anyone seen the airports? Like, they are flooded with people. Everybody wants to do something after this bizarre year and a half. Anyway, so we are here today and we're going to share some of the best advice we've gotten over the last 14 years. And we do sit in an unusual position, although we hope we share it all with you to get the same great advice. But we get to talk to these really remarkable experts. And I know it's changed my parenting. I think for most of us, we would agree that it was a boom to us to get this advice and really let us look at adolescence through a different lens. So I'm going to do mine at the end because the winner goes to Mindy Gallagher.
Thank you, Sue. And I know why you're sending this to me. First, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a while ago. We published an article that said, in order for your teen to really thrive, they need 12 hugs a day. And I thought that was the most ridiculous, like I couldn't believe it. I just thought it was a ridiculous article. I think I even commented like, why are we publishing this? This is crazy. But as I've learned, sometimes I'm an early adapter, sometimes I'm a late adapter. And as I read the comments and let the article sit with me for a while, the article was from, I think the advice was from Dr. Laura Markham of AHA Parenting. And then after a while, it began to make sense because it didn't need to be these hugs, these total body bear hugs. It could be a pat on the head, a tap on the shoulder, a tap on the back as you walk past your kid. And the more I let it sit with me, the more I agreed with it. And I did find myself, although I didn't admit it for quite a while, attempting to give my teens some type of physical contact several times a day. So that was, and it sticks with me today. I mean, every time that article comes up, I get a little goosebumps or a little chills. I don't know if they're good chills or bad chills. But it's a great reminder, especially as your kids go off to college, as school starts again, just that physical contact is good for everyone. So that truly is the best advice I have received from your teen. And I continue to use it as my kids progress into their 20s. So, that is my confession. Late adapter to that one. I will send it to Kamira.
Good morning. Thank you. Mine comes from Dr. Alan Kasdan he's director of Yale Parenting Center. And he reminded me of something I learned from one of my son's elementary school teaching teams, but I had forgotten it. And what he said is that teenagers aren't always doing terrible things and that we should catch them in the act of doing good. And it's important because positive interaction begets more positive interaction. And it's a way of reinforcing them doing good, but also it's a way of opening and communication between the parents and the teen. When one of our sons was in elementary school, the classroom teaching team had that same philosophy, and they would catch the kids doing good in school and they would pull them aside and tell them. Not only that, they would call home. So one time, around dinner time, the phone rings and it's a teacher, and you're thinking, and this was a child who often I got phone calls from school. And he said, I just wanted to tell you this wonderful thing so-and-so did. And it still makes me feel good to hear it. And I'm one person removed. So it taught me, I thought, to do it. And then I found out I had slipped until I read it again in our newsletter. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We're supposed to catch them doing good. They don't always respond the way you think they will, but it sinks in. I'm going to send it down to Jody.
Hey, good morning. So, I thought about this question two ways. So I guess the first piece of advice that I think has been the most helpful actually came from Under Pressure with Lisa D'Amour. And, she talked about how your kid can kind of, push your buttons or as they get older, they might get a little sassier or maybe, test out some behavior on you. And she had this idea of kind of really, setting boundaries. Say, listen, I know you're upset, but you know what? Like, and you can be upset, but you still can't be rude in this house, or you still can't do this. And I just found that was like a really helpful way to be able to talk to my kids if they were frustrated. It's like, it's okay, but that doesn't give you a right to, do this. And it also enabled them, because you're giving them permission to feel what they feel, but at the same time, you're not giving them permission to act in a certain way, which they know they shouldn't. And it allowed them to be able to kind of step back and say, okay, you're right, and then we could kind of get at what was really going on. So that was really helpful. And then I also thought about the best advice that I heard that I've failed at following. So, and that would probably be, everything that you hear about when you're upset, to pause, to walk away. I just wish I could do that, and I'm not so good at it. And I also, have the idea, and then the idea of, I think, there's a 10-second rule that you can say what you want to say, but you need to do it quickly and then get out of there. And I'm, maybe would pile on more than I should. So I guess those would be, so there's the one that I followed and the one that I wish I had and could follow. So, all right. How about you, Ekka?
Good morning, everyone. So as Mindy and Sue know, I totally fangirl on on Anne-Marie Hayes, and I actually went and found her book, 3 Keys to Keeping Your Teen Alive, which is a really crazy story. It's about driving, and totally fangirl. She actually came to speak at one of our seminars, and she signed my book. I mean, love this woman. But anyway, so I was, as a parent of like a 15-and-a-half-year-old when she was getting her driving permit, I was really afraid. I mean, this was entrusting teens with a really, really scary big car that they could cause a lot of harm to themselves and others. And I just didn't take it lightly at all. And so this book is like a workbook that made me go through it. But the biggest takeaway I got from this was having a driving contract, because when you read this book, or when you read other kind of books, this is actually like, there's worksheets and stuff in here too, is it really makes you sit down and consider practices that you feel are important for your teen, and then have them think about what they feel about driving too. And then everybody comes up with a contract that is signed by both parents and teens as a way to keep them safe and a way to make them think about what they're promising to do. And it was really big. I mean, I know everybody's like lighthearted, and this is a little lighthearted, but I was just really afraid of some of the things that can happen when teens drive. And it was really a reason to sit down and discuss it. And then when things did not go well, like there was a speeding ticket or there was an accident or whatever, you could go back and revisit the contract and say, hey, you know what, there's repercussions for what happened with the speeding ticket. You signed this contract and everything. And it just a kind of a way to talk about it. Because to me, it was just really, really important. Plus, then I got to visit this book again. And this book sat on the counter for probably like 4 years. And every time something would happen with driving, I'd be like, well, my friend, Anne-Marie Hayes, and they'd be like, oh my God, Mom, not Anne-Marie Hayes again. It's because I quoted this like my Bible for years. So anyway, that was my advice. So I'm going to send it over to Sharon.
Thanks, Ekka. I might have to get that and look into everything Anne-Marie Hayes, because I have a new driver as well. We're just entering that phase of our lives here. The best advice I got from your teen, it's hard to pick, but one of the ones that has helped me a lot is to talk less and act more decisively. In other words, to stop nagging. I have this tendency to talk at my kids and talk to them and suggest and remind, and they get sick of it. I get sick of it. Everybody gets sick of it, and the action never seems to happen, right? We've all been there. So we have this article, which I will post here, that Catherine Perlman wrote, and she's a parenting expert who's the author of a book called Ignore It. And she, using her own expertise and the expertise of Carla Naumburg, who wrote How to Stop Losing Your Shit with Your Kids, who's also an expert, explained why if the more we nag, the less they hear, and that we just need to tell them what's expected, tell them what the consequence is, and just let it go. I mean, let it happen, and then be ready to follow through. Because I think that was where I slipped up. I didn't have the follow through. I was just like, well, I'm going to give them a chance to do the right thing. And then it just drove all of us crazy. So finally, I could say, if you leave this mess again, I'm going to fine $1. And despite me talking about the mess and reminding about the mess forever, incredibly, the $1 fine, which is not that much for kids today, did way more, and me shutting my mouth did way more than all the nagging in the world ever did. So I'm very grateful for that advice, and I'm going to post that one article that I thought was helpful to me. All right, Jen, I'm going to send it down to you.
Thanks, Sharon. Some of you might know Sharon and I have coffee together every Wednesday at 10:30 on the Your Teen Facebook page live. And I would like to propose for this week, if we don't have a topic yet, because I don't remember, that we do all the advice we think that we got that we didn't follow or haven't followed yet. Because I think that is, and I hat tip to Jody for that one, because I think that's a deep vein that we can mine. So come at us on Wednesday with the advice you didn't follow. But for today,
Yeah, and that was my topipic for next Monday, but we can do it twice.
Okay.
Is this the advice we're glad we didn't follow, or we just say,
No,
I'm not doing that?
No. The stuff we should do that we're not doing.
Oh, it's a long list.
It's on us. Well, we can negotiate behind the scenes on that. But so here's the thing. We have so many experts I love, and there's a piece of advice I know I've heard from more than one expert, and I'm still working on it. But I have to say, I'm going to give a shout out to Phyllis Fagel, who I really wish had been my BFF during the years my kids were in middle school, because she just has it down pat. She has a book called Middle School Matters, and it's like the Bible of what you should refer to probably when you're going through these things. But the one nugget that I know I've heard from her and other experts in this area is that first time that your kid gets excluded from the lunch table, or there's mean kid behavior, our first instinct is to go into parenting overdrive and want to fix. I want to fix it for them. I'm going to call that mother. I'm going to make you a play date with another friend. I'm going to set you up with something else. And it's so hard, but you have to kind of peel back and not go into fixing mode, and instead a lot more listening and just straight up empathy and saying, that is terrible. It hurts. And I feel bad. I'm sorry that you're hurting. And maybe as a follow-up, when they're ready to hear it, you could say, what do you think you can do about this? What's your plan? Because they don't really want us to fix it. It never goes well when we try to fix it. So anyway, still working on it. As I imagine most of us are, we just want them to be happy, and we think it's in our power to make them happy. But that power ended somewhere around, scraped knee time, unfortunately. And part of parenting is letting them figure it out on their own, with a little support and a lot of love and guidance from us. Ekka, I want to call upon the floor recognizes
Ekka, before that, I'm just going to show Lori's comment today, so we can get some other people who want to share. So Lori, why didn't it go over there? Okay, does anyone see it? Nope. All right, well, I'm having glitches, but Lori said, my son today at 4 p.m. has his driving test appointment. COVID gave us lots of together time driving. We did the parent run driving program. The driving contract is a good one. Yay, Lori. And thanks, Lori, for always jumping in. If anybody else has any other things they want to share that have worked for them, that they've learned at Your Teen or somewhere else. Oh, Christina says, wait, did I just make that happen? That's so weird.
Yeah, I see it.
Sharon made it happen?
It's there.
Oh, Sharon, you all powerful. I say, is there anything I can do to help you? All right, Christina, that is such good advice, and like an easy way to start not being the fixer. And too many people are trying at the same time. Okay, I'm going to click it. And it's not leaving. All right, there we go. So now Eka, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I don't know about you guys. I'm going to be real here. When my kid comes home and says, this happened with Penny, blah, 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 I listen empathetically and everything. But in my head, I'm thinking, I hate you, Penny, and I will hate you the rest of my life. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm just going to put it out there. Thank you for keeping it real, Eka.
Yeah. And I think we have a meme. Maybe Jessica can find it, but it's something along the lines of, if your mother isn't still upset about the girl who was mean to you in 7th grade, is she even a mother? I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. And like, when you're telling that story, I've been there. I've had this face like, oh my gosh, but in my head, there's this thing like, if I see you on the street, I will give you evil dagger looks and I will think ill of you. I mean, actually worse, but I'm just keeping it, But I mean,
right.
I
think Eka, Christina wrote same for her. I think that's not uncommon, but you're just bold. So thank you. Thanks for being the bold one.
Are you guys all in agreement with that?
Yeah. But the thing is, you really can't say it because, the next day or a half hour or a week later, they're friends again. And then you're like, if you say it, you're really in trouble. It's like, but Mom, what do you mean you never liked that person? You cannot win. So you may as well just think it and enjoy it.
By the way, the same goes when your best friend broke up with her boyfriend or girlfriend and then you got dumped on them and said, yeah, I never liked them. And then they're back together. Same thing.
Yeah.
Just carry
All right, let's let Jessica have her moment.
This is my moment. Hello, I'm Jessica, today playing the role of Emily, who she was talking about the one of our older articles, typical teenage behaviors, 10 things teenagers just can't do, and it was a teacher talking about, just very, very common, like, teenagers can't focus at anything when there's a spider in the room or there's a puppy nearby. Teenagers can't organize anything. Teenagers can't understand their own bursts of anger, tears, or apathy. And Emily had said, like, the idea that we can't be shocked or outraged when teens act like teens. I'm gonna post the article actually in the chat real quick. I'll just post it. There, yeah, it's in the chat. But and I was actually going to even add to that, like, we have a lot of articles about the teenage brain and how the teenage brain works, and it's just they are still growing and developing, and that's just how teenagers are. Now that I'm no longer a teenager, I have interacted with a lot of teenagers and been like, oh wow, okay, that's now that I'm out of it, I get it. they just can't always think things through. But yeah, just kind of in that vein, their brains aren't finished developing yet, and that's you have to accept that. And I think that's all I got to say. I will pass it back to Sue.
Okay, so those were great ones, and the funny thing is that so many of them are things that I was affected by but forgot. So I don't know what that says about me, but it's good to be reminded of better ways to do things. I have this moment. So many people have impacted my parenting, but some I've integrated and probably taken as my own and repeated to other people as something I do, even though there was somebody else who created that impetus. So I feel badly that I take credit, but I can't remember who the source was. But this one, Dr. Dan Siegel, who's written many, many books, tells this one thing about your kid coming home from school and throwing their backpack on the floor. And like, I can feel myself in that moment yelling at my kid and saying, pick up your backpack. What's with the attitude? Like this whole litany of like how I'm reacting to their anger, which feels targeted at me, even though it was just like a kind of something between them and the backpack and the floor. And Dan Siegel says, how about you try saying, seems like you had a rough day at school. And like that to me, it's like the whole idea of being not taking these things personally and recognizing how hard it is just to live each day. And that's not just for teenagers, but it's particularly hard for teenagers. It's rough to come home from school and then have this assault by whoever's greeting you with, how was your day? What did you do? How'd you do on the test? Don't throw your backpack down. We don't do that here. Pick it up, your shoes, blah, 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 blah. So the idea of just seeing their humanity and giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I think that one really touched me somewhere deeply about looking at my kids a little differently and being a little kinder. So anyone, you have a second to put your additions into the comments. Thank you to Christina and to Lori for putting comments in there.
So
And
we had somebody who commented earlier too. I think she was a teacher, and she said she liked always being the teacher who would make that phone call home saying that they caught their kid doing something good.
oh, okay.
I
I'm
wanna
going to
make
add
sure we
that.
get-
Thank you. I want to put that up there. Okay, I'm trying that. Is anyone else touching?
No, it's there. Yeah, I see it. Oh,
Okay.
no, sorry. I guess StreamYard is not playing nicely with us today. There
Well,
she
I
is.
think there's a lot of overplaying. So Linda Kennedy, thank you, Linda. I loved being the teacher who called home to tell parents of teens to tell them of the great thing that their kids was doing. I need to remember that more with my own kids. Linda, thank you. That is so really welcome and true. And just a nice pivot on how we often approach like not finding the good in our kids and
I think
not highlighting those good things.
That's something we could all do for other people in our lives. It's like, it means more when somebody else says about your kid, like, oh, I saw so-and-so doing something that was so kind, and maybe it was something you would never know about them, but another parent witnessed it. That's always really meaningful when somebody does that. And it doesn't cost you anything to take that extra 5 minutes to tell somebody. So that's a good practice to fold into our parenting.
All right, everybody. I'll duke it out with Sharon and Jen, and we'll let you know what the topics are for Wednesday and next Monday. And if we both do it, I think that's totally fine. See you next week on Behind the Scenes. Thanks, everybody.